Just a few short years ago, Jordan Matthews was finishing up his second season with the Philadelphia Eagles as he had caught 85 passes for 997 yards and 8 touchdowns. It honestly looked like the sky was the limit for the young star, but just a few years later, he is basically out of the league. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look back at the career of Jordan Matthews and try and figure out what happened to him. But first, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, like the video if you like this kind of content, suggest a future video topic, and stay until the end. And now let's get started and talk about what happened to Jordan Matthews. Believe it or not, Jordan Matthews wasn't even supposed to be a football star, as he actually first grew up loving the game of soccer. Since his mother was worried about Jordan getting injured, she urged him to play the game of soccer, and he honestly fell in love with the game. By the time he had gotten to Madison Academy, his mind had been changed though, and his new dream was to play wide receiver. After becoming an all-state caliber player for the Alabama high school football system, Jordan still didn't have any offers he wanted. Yes, he received offers from schools such as Kansas, Tulane, and Arkansas State, but he wanted to play and knew he could play at football at a higher level. Eventually, Jordan decided it was best for him to walk on for Auburn, but that all changed on Christmas Eve. That night, Vanderbilt head coach Bobby Johnson had called him and his family and offered Jordan a scholarship. From there, the rest is history. According to 24/7 Sports, Matthews was a 3-star recruit, the number 162 wide receiver, and the 1,283rd best player in the class of 2010. If you decide to play football at Vanderbilt, you have to be prepared for 3 things. 1, you'll have a very rigid academic program with high expectations in the classroom. Secondly, you can expect to play your heart out on the field, but consistently lose. Finally, if you ever wanted to play in big games or play in meaningful bowl games, then you were crazy because that likely was just not going to happen there. Vanderbilt football has not been ranked very much in its program history, but there were better times on the way when Matthews arrived. Going into the 2010 season, head coach Bobby Johnson unexpectedly retired, and Robbie Caldwell was the interim head coach. As usual, the Commodores did not see much on-field success as they went 2-10 and got blown out in almost every single game. As a freshman at Vanderbilt, Jordan caught 15 passes for 181 yards and 4 touchdowns. Going into 2011, Vanderbilt hired an up-and-coming coordinator by the name of James Franklin. Little did Vanderbilt fans know that he was going to do a lot of big things to the program. The team's quarterback was Jordan Rodgers, who's actually the brother of Aaron Rodgers, and their running back was an eventual guy who played in the NFL by the name of Zach Stacy. Vanderbilt football had a different vibe to it in 2011 as they started out the season 3-0, and Jordan was the team's go-to playmaker. They lost some games against some SEC Premier teams, but they did beat Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Wake Forest to finish the regular season at 6-6. They lost a close game to Cincinnati in the Liberty Bowl, but Vanderbilt football was on the rise. As a sophomore, Matthews became the team's best receiver as he caught 41 passes for 778 yards and 5 touchdowns. Going into his junior year, Vanderbilt football was finally getting some hype, and they even made improvements to their football stadium. They opened up their season on national television, but they lost a close game to South Carolina. After starting out 2-4, Franklin and Matthews helped lead the Commodores to 7 straight wins against Ole Miss, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Wake Forest before they beat NC State in the Music City Bowl to finish at 9-4. The Commodores became ranked for the first time in a long time, and Vanderbilt football was something special. After the season, Jordan Matthews was a household name in the SEC as he caught 94 passes for 1,323 yards and 8 touchdowns en route to becoming a member of the SEC's all-first team. Matthews could have left for the NFL, but he wanted to come back for his senior year and do something special with the program. Going into his senior year, he was listed on every award watch list possible and was a preseason All-American. Unfortunately, the season started out bad as 4 players were charged with rape, and thankfully those players were dismissed from the program. They began the season 4-4 before things began to turn on. They won their last 5 games against Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Wake Forest before they beat Houston in the BBVA Compass Bowl. They finished the season at 9-4, and people could not believe what was happening to Vanderbilt football. On the year, Matthews caught a whopping 112 passes for 1,477 yards and 7 touchdowns while becoming a first-team All-SEC selection and a first-team All-American. Not only did Jordan become one of the best players in Vanderbilt history, but he was also pegged to become a high-round NFL draft pick. Following the season, James Franklin took the head coaching job at Penn State, and Vanderbilt hired Derek Mason, who basically ran the program back into the ground. As we know, Vanderbilt's gone back to becoming the joke of the SEC, and it seems that nothing is going to change soon, and I don't know if Clark Lee will do that much. Scouts knew that Matthews had excellent hands, was a great route runner, a great athlete, and had a ton of college production, but he lacked deep speed, wasn't overly big or fast, and he just wasn't quick enough, they said. Despite the concerns, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Matthews with the 42nd overall pick in the second round of the draft, and he was expected to have a day one impact for the Eagles, and that's exactly what he did. He scored his first 2 touchdowns in their Week 3 matchup against the Redskins, and Matthews had the biggest game of his rookie year in a Monday Night Football showdown against the Carolina Panthers. He caught 7 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he was showing his full potential. That was the highlight of his season, as he finished with 67 passes, 872 yards receiving, and 8 touchdowns in his rookie year. In his second year, Matthews was becoming an NFL star, and he proved why everyone was so high on him. He started out the year with 10 catches for 102 yards and set the tone for the season. There were 4 games where he caught over 100 yards and finished the season with a career-high 85 catches for 997 yards and 8 touchdowns. The sky was honestly the limit for Matthews at this point, and he was becoming one of the league's best receivers. In year 3, things began to go south though. Yes, he did catch a career-high 73 passes in his third year, but his yardage dropped to 804 and had a career-low 3 touchdowns, which means they were not going to him when it mattered. I'm not exactly sure why, but the Eagles felt it was time to move on from him, and he was traded to the Buffalo Bills. His career began to fall apart because of the injuries. He suffered a thumb injury and ended up cutting his season short. He finished with a career low in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. After his 1 year with the Bills, he was signed by the New England Patriots, but released because of a hamstring injury. From there, he rejoined the injury-riddled Eagles, but wasn't the same player that he once was. Finally, he spent time with the 49ers and the Eagles again, and the 49ers for a second time, and he was part of the practice squad for the Niners team that got to the Super Bowl. So after re-examining his career, we can now answer the question, what did happen to Jordan Matthews, and sort of what went wrong? Well, the answer is pretty obvious, and that is injury. After battling all those injuries, he just wasn't the same player, and eventually his role in the NFL faded. There's definitely more than just that, and if you have a theory or something to add, please let me know in the comment section down below. Overall, I was too young to really remember him a lot at Vanderbilt. I remember watching him on the Eagles, and I really enjoyed his game. Jordan Matthews is nostalgic for a lot of college football fans because he was a guy who was at Vanderbilt for a long time. He made a lot of plays there, and he kind of made the Commodores football program cool again. Vanderbilt football has really struggled over the years. Derek Mason was not that good of a head coach, and they've become the worst team in the SEC by far, and it's just really sad. James Franklin has struggled a little bit at Penn State, but sometimes his time at Vanderbilt goes under the rug, and just how hard that was for him to do, you gotta give him credit for that. I really do hope Vanderbilt football gets back to the point of being competitive, because I want to see all the teams in the SEC do well, and I want to see all the athletes have a chance to win, and I especially want to see a school like Vanderbilt do well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please be sure to hit that like button, support the channel and the video, and help it grow, so more college football fans can see it. If you enjoy college football content, be sure to subscribe, and also let me know another player I should take a look at next. While you're still here, check out my video about the rise and fall of Derek Mason at Vanderbilt, and until next time, peace.